Hey guys. So I do an event every year that's a lot like this, but much smaller, and I'm speaking to middle-aged dentists, and you guys are a lot better looking and much more fit and a lot more ink, so I appreciate it. I can't judge your teeth like I can judge theirs, but I'm going to start today off with a math problem. It's an easy math problem, about a fourth grade level math problem. Feel free to use the calculators on your cell phones if you like, or you can bust it out old school, paper in front of you. Let's start with your age. Your age in years times the number 365. Your age in years times 365. And when you get the answer, do me a favor, put a big circle around it. Age in years times 365. Look up when you're kind of done. All right, part two of the problem. The number 29,565, subtract from it the number that you circled. When you get that, put a big box around it. Let's break down the problem. 29,595, lifespan of the average American in days. 14,965, the number is going to be different for all of you depending on your age, but it's the number that you circled. That's the average number of days that you've been alive. Depending on specifically when your birthday is, obviously, we're rounding down. If your birthday's after June, you can round up if you like, but I'm trying to get a round figure here, just something close. 14,600, the number with your box around it. That's the number of days that you have left. The number of days you have left. You can see for me, it's less than the number of days that I've been here. If you live to the lifespan of the average American. Whew, it's powerful, isn't it? Makes my heart beat. So all of you beautiful people, all 550 plus pairs of eyes looking at me are literally watching the sand fall through the hourglass. And precious seconds tick off my countdown timer. And as I look at all of you from here to here, I'm watching the same thing. Precious moments ticking away that we can never, ever get back again. And I know what you're thinking. What you're thinking is you're fit, you're young, you're going to bust through that average age. The average American is fat, out of shape. But don't miss the point of my exercise, and that is no matter what your number is, we all have a number. That is the brutal, inescapable truth that we all have as human beings. And that's the one thing that we all share. And for me, I had a very harsh reminder back in 2003 when my two very best friends died long before their time. For Phil, it was 11,680. For Lee, it was 11,315. And that experience for me, that time in my life, is the lens that I choose to view my entire life and my business and the world in general. So I challenge you to think of things in that light. Questions to ponder. Are you living up to your full potential? It's a simple question. Are you living up to your full potential right now as we sit here today? Is your business delivering the lifestyle and outcome that you desire, that you deserve? Is it? I'm assuming the answer might not be yes for everybody here, which is why you're here. Good decision. If you had answered no to either of these questions, do you have a concrete plan in place to bridge the gap between where you are now and where you want to be? When we talk about solving problems as personal trainers, as fitness professionals, as dentists, we talk about identifying the gap between where our clients are and where they want to be, agitating that gap. Are you guys agitating your own gap? Do you have a concrete plan in place? Do you know exactly how you're going to get to where you want to be? Do you know where it is that you want to be? Are you there yet? A lot of questions to answer. We're logical humans, most of us, and we all know that our countdown timers are ticking down. We do. We know this. But the vast majority, I mean the vast majority of human beings on this planet live lives of dissatisfaction, desperation, and boredom. How can that be? How can that be when we know that we only get one shot at this? And that every breath that we take is one less breath that we have on this planet. How can that be? Reflect for a moment. Think about the countless people in the history of mankind who have laid on their deathbed knowing in their hearts that they didn't live up to their full potential. Not only that, but they are too scared, too distracted, too busy to ever take a shot at their dreams. Could that possibly be you someday? I hope not. Because in the second that it takes to snap your fingers, to take a breath, every single thing can change. And I'm going to tell you guys about one single day that changed everything for me. Everything. And it has to do with the host of this conference. Most influential person ever in my life. Here's the good news. You are not part of the vast majority that thinks that way. The desperate, the bored, the scared. I'm telling you that right now. Because I believe that there are two prevailing mindsets, not just in the fitness industry or in dentistry, but in the entire world. Two prevailing mindsets, that's it, just two. One of scarcity and one of abundance. What do you think the vast majority of people in the world live under? Absolutely true. And I feel very comfortable talking about scarcity-minded people right here and right now today because they're not in this room. And you know why they're not in this room? Because they're repelled by events like this. They're repelled by people like us. They think we're crazy. The way that they live, the things they believe, the things that they say are in complete contradiction to the way that we live our lives. Scarcity-minded people think in terms of win-lose. They believe that life is a zero-sum game, that in order to earn $1, you must take $1 from somebody else. They blame their situation on forces outside of their control, the government, the economy, competition, their family. You know what? My tax rate just went up to 35%. I have to work until March 21st before I ever make $1. The economy sucks. I could never imagine somebody paying $500, $700, $1,000 for an information product that I market online. There's no way the economy could support that. You guys don't understand. There is so much competition in my market. There is a personal trainer every 10 feet in my market. There is absolutely no way I can make six figures as a personal trainer. There's no way. Competition is too much. You know what? I'm a middle child. My older brother and my younger sister, they got all the attention. My parents didn't say I love you all that much. There's no reason for me to believe that the world is going to treat me any differently, so why even try? That's fear. That's scarcity. You guys hear it all the time. That is the vast majority of the people that are around you, whether you like it or not. That's the bullshit that the mass media is piping out into the world. Scarcity mindset. You're either an either-or mentality. You either care about your clients or you care about making money. Can't have both. You're either family-focused or career-focused. Here's society's favorite. You're either rich or you're honest. It's the damn 1%ers, man. It's all their fault. You know why they say that in the media? You know why they portray wealthy people that way? The 1%, the cream of the crop, the Bedros Keuilians of the world. You know why they portray people in a negative light like that? Because it's easier to believe that they were dishonest and got there by stepping on the heads of other people. It's easier to believe that than to look in the mirror and say, you know what? That was a pretty half-assed performance on my part. Maybe I should have tried a little bit harder. It's easier to believe something bad about somebody that's more successful than us than to take a good hard look in the mirror. It's true. My row instructor in dental school, the first 2 years was hell. What we did was what we called preclinical work, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, histology, any ology that you can think of, we studied the first 2 years. The second 2 years were fun. We actually got to work with human beings. We got to work in the mouths. We got to be physicians of the oral cavity. The reason we went to dental school. They broke us all up, all 75 of us, into rows, according to the alphabet. Each row had a particular instructor that was in charge of it. So that instructor stayed with you for 2 years. They taught you everything about using your hands, clinical dentistry, how to operate in the oral cavity, how to deliver anesthetic. If you got a shitty one, SOL. If you got a great one like I did, you're in good shape. My very first mentor in the world was my first row instructor. That guy taught me everything that I know about dentistry, everything. How to prep for a crown, how to deliver anesthetic, how to take a tooth out, how to perform surgery, how to do sutures, everything. Graduate from dental school, move away from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is where Marquette is, back to Arizona. 3 years later, my wife and I get invited to a wedding back in Milwaukee. Go back to Milwaukee. School had moved across the street. Brand new state-of-the-art facility. Decided I wanted to tour the new facility. So I'm touring the facility, bump into my mentor, old Doc, good old Doc. We hug it out. Decide to go grab a cup of coffee. Sit down across the table from each other. Meet a Doc. Doc, how you doing? You look fantastic. 45 years in practice, I can't believe it. You never would guess by looking at you. How are you doing? Mark, I'm doing great. Still in the same 600 square foot practice after 45 years. Still have the same assistant, 40 years in a row. Seeing 4, sometimes 6 patients a day. Mark, you know what? I'll never make $1 million in dentistry. I'll never be a wealthy man. But you know what? I know in my heart that my patients are getting the very best care. But enough about me. Mark, how are you doing? Doc, I can't even tell you. I'm so excited to share this with you. It's been 3 years since I saw you last. I've been really busy. I opened my first 3 practices. I got 3 dentists working for me full-time, 17 employees. They're all profitable. My vision is 6, maybe 10 practices. We're helping a lot of people. I have a really, really good way of screening dentists, making sure that we have good quality control in the offices. Everybody's getting great care. It's awesome. Sat back in my chair, waited for my compliment. When I looked across the table, Doc looked down. When he looked back up at me, he had a look on his face, half disappointment, half concern. I'll never forget what he said to me. Mark, I want you to take a very, very close look and reconsider the direction that your career is going. I honestly don't believe that you can deliver the care that your patients need if you're focused so much on making money and expanding. How can you do that, Mark? I don't understand it. And at that moment, I knew. Good old Doc, my mentor, Great dentist, scarcity-minded. Scarcity-minded guy. And so, from that moment on, I realized that Doc wanted me to pick a team. And I did pick a team that day. And it wasn't Doc's team. It was the abundance-minded team. Slide. Uh-oh. My countdown clock is ticking. Precious seconds ticking off my life. Can never get these seconds back. So let's talk about us in this room. The abundance mentality. Let's shake off the negativity. Abundance mentality. These are the people that are in this room. This is you and I. This is all of us in here. We possess a win-win mentality, right? We believe that if you produce more value and release that out into the world, and you're monetarily compensated for it, that's a win-win situation. We believe that we have absolute control over our own destiny. Polar opposite, 180 degrees from the scarcity people. They don't view the world in terms of black and white or either or. And what I call people with the abundance mentality is the enlightened entrepreneurs. That's you. That is you out there because you're here, you're sitting here. You took the time to be here. The enlightened entrepreneurs believe that the knowledge, gifts, and abilities that they possess add value to the lives of their clients and customers that they serve. Therefore, the more lives they can change and improve, the more prosperous they can become. This is a win-win abundance mindset. Think about that for 1 second. If you are creating products and services that are more valuable to the world than you are being monetarily compensated for, it is your moral and ethical obligation to create more products and more services. And as a byproduct, guess what? You become wealthy. And it's time to stop apologizing for that because you're making the world a better place. You're taking less money in monetary means, in value, than you're releasing out into the world. I'm giving you permission to say that's okay. How did I get here? Anybody know what this building is? That's HQ, Chino Hills, California. For all you new people, I'm sure most of you will end up in HQ someday. 2011, August, I walked through the doors of HQ for the very first time. I was just putting the finishing touches on my first fitness product, not dental product, but fitness product. Went on the internets and found Bedros Keuilian. How can you not if you type in fitness info product? It's impossible. He owns the first 18 pages. And so I just called HQ. Hey, can I talk to Bedros? Is that the silliest thing ever? Guess what? They handed him the phone. This was only 2.5 years ago. Try doing that now. They handed him the phone. We had a 20-minute chat. I didn't know who this guy was. I had no reference point. I didn't know that he was responsible for this sort of thing. I had no idea what the Bedros effect was. Said, hey, Bedros, got this fitness product that's pretty awesome. I don't know if you've heard of these before, but it's called a membership website. And what's going to happen is people are going to have like this password, and they're going to pay me to give them access to this awesome website. And I don't know if you've heard about this either, but I have like videos on there. And like recipes and awesome things. And he humored me. He said, Mark, it sounds awesome. I'm having a one-day mastermind. There's only 3 guys that are going to be there. Why don't you come by? It's in Chino Hills, California. It's in 2 days. Done. Showed up. There's 5 guys there. Bedros, me, Steve De La Torre, where's Steve at? Steve, told you I'd give you a shout out. Mike Perella. Mike Perella. There was some heavy lumber in the room, as Mike would say. A lot of earning power in this room. So we sat there on the couch for 8 hours with a whiteboard, spewing off some freaking brilliance. The only problem was I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. I didn't know what a list was. I didn't know what an autoresponder was. I didn't know what a landing page was. I didn't know anything about anything. Nothing. This is 2.5 years ago. Didn't know nothing. So we went around the room. Everybody talked about their businesses, their products, their dreams, their aspirations. It was pretty awesome. Got to me. It was my turn to present. Opened up my awesome membership website. Clicked through. The entire presentation took 90 seconds. I still remember what B said to me. Cool. What else you got? I got nothing else. In fact, I don't even know what the hell you guys are talking about. So he poked a little bit and he let me know that maybe we should shelf this or work on it a little bit. But what else you got going? You're a dentist. Is there any other ideas that are percolating in that head of yours? Well, you know what, B? I do have this thing. I have this dental assisting school, and I teach it out of the lobby of my dental office. And we teach people how to be dental assistants, and we certify them. It's pretty cool. That's your idea. Fitness product, shelf, let's focus on your dental assisting school. That was my first product. So when I left that meeting, I had a brand new concept, a brand new niche, no list, more questions than answers. Does anybody feel like that sometimes? It's okay. It's going to be all right because you're in the right place. So I had this goal. I was going to launch a product in 90 days. I was going to build a list in 90 days. I was going to write copy in 90 days. I was going to figure out landing page in 90 days. I was going to create a product in 90 days. I was going to launch this thing and collect my first dollar. The only time I had to work on this, because I was working 50 hours in the dental practices, was 9 to 1 at night. Put my kids to bed, hang out with my wife for a little bit. 9 o'clock, as Craig would call it, that was my magic time, 9 to 1 every night. And busted it out, figured it out. What I learned that day was what I didn't know. And what I did after that was figure that shit out. Since that day, my first product launch was 3 months later, brought in $88,000, no affiliates. The list was 300 dentists. 6 months later, I had netted, after expenses, $300,000. Within 12 months, $600,000 net revenue. 18 months, my first million. 12 months later, million number 2. Mikey Perella was there. We started around the same time. Mike told me last night at dinner, he's got over 300 locations, $6 million in revenue last year. That dude over there, that bald guy. So if you think that I'm bragging when I'm showing you these numbers, I'm not. I'm humbled by the people that I'm surrounded with. I am barely scratching the frickin' surface. Dude, I don't know frickin' shit about Twitter. I don't know anything about Pinterest. I don't know anything about social media. I don't utilize 99% of the resources out there because I'm still a novice, but this is what I was able to do. There's so much potential now. The way that the world is set up, there's no reason why all of you people can't outperform me. So please don't think I'm bragging. I'm just trying to give you a ray of hope that, damn it, this is totally possible. Totally. So here's some of my products that I've developed. On the left side, that's some of my info products. In the middle, upper right, dental practice newsletter. Does that sound familiar? A little bit like maybe Fit Pro newsletter. On the right side, I just penned my first book, 205 pages. It's really helped to kind of solidify my space in the dental niche. Down below there, you'll see that was my first summit. That was a year ago, last weekend. My next one is next weekend. 150 people, which is a start, right? It's not this, but it's a start. Last year, B was nice enough to speak for me on my behalf at that summit. In the middle, that's where I make the most of my money online. 106 locations of the dental assisting school since that first meeting. 106 locations. 12,000 bucks a pop, and they pay me a nice little residual income on the back end for the right to use my intellectual property. If they decide that they don't want to pay the money, I take the product back and I sell it to their closest competitor. The resales on those things are like 80%. So it really is continuity in the true sense of the word. I also have a podcast coming out. But look at the breakdown of my revenue streams here. When we were sitting down there, one of the things that impressed me the most at HQ that first day was as Bedros drew this big pie chart and he said, this is where my revenue streams come from. This many hundreds of thousands of dollars comes from my Fit Pro newsletter. Okay, I got a dental practice newsletter. So many thousands of dollars come from my info products. Okay, I developed info products. Then I have this thing called Fit Body Bootcamp. It's a brick and mortar deal. I sell a license. It was a license back then, not a franchise. And I collect money on the back end. I sell a license. I collect money on the back end. Oh, I like to do live events too. I make, $2 million a year doing live events, Bedros says. I'll have some live events. I do masterminds and coaching clubs. Oh, I'll do masterminds and coaching clubs. I beat him to the punch on one thing. We're talking about doing a podcast for him. But you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You model success. I'm a freaking dentist. I modeled B. Worked out just fine. Here's the best part. My continuity passive income pays for 100% of my family's living expenses. Imagine that for 1 second. If that seems like forever away, it's closer than you might think. Every single dollar that we need to support the family, food, shelter, and a lot of other things, gets paid through the continuity income. Not the sales, not the $2 million of sales in the last 2 years. That's gravy, guys. The continuity stuff pays for my living expenses. Imagine that. Totally doable. It also funds all of my retirement accounts. My life insurance. I feel like a grown-up, finally. Sat down with a financial advisor and an attorney. We have an estate plan now. I guess I have an estate now. I have $3.5 million in life insurance, which makes me feel like a grown-up, because if anything happens to me, well, make sure that it's not homicide, first of all, but if anything happens to me, my family is taken care of. $3.5 million worth of life insurance. All of my kids' college accounts are paid for. Coolest part. My parents are getting older. They're starting to stress about the size of their house and whether or not they could pay for it. They're thinking about moving into a condo. My mom has this baby grand piano that she loves. She's always wanted it. She's only had it for a couple years. They were going to move, and she was going to sell the baby grand. I bought their house and sold it back to them for $1. Never again. Thanks. Never again are they going to have to worry about where they're going to live and where their expenses are going to get paid from. I just removed that stress from their life. So what the F happened at that meeting? Who would have liked to be a fly on the wall with Mikey Perella and Bedros spinning their wisdom for 8 hours? Would anybody else like to have been there? Badass meeting. At that meeting, I was given the roadmap. The roadmap to follow to build my own information empire, coaching and consulting business. But let me give you a little secret, guys. The information, everything you need to build your very own part-time 7-figure business is out there and available for free online right now. The stuff that Bedros and Craig give away for free in their newsletters and in their blogs is all you need to make $1 million a year, part-time. What's missing, the missing ingredient, is this, all of this. Accountability, community, the extra nudge that y'all need. The missing ingredient is everybody sitting next to you. I challenge everybody here today to meet at least 5 people that you haven't been hanging out with till this point in the conference. 5 people. I'm challenging you right now. 5 people, get their email addresses, have the balls to tell them what your action steps are going to be in the 5 days following this conference. Because what happens when we get back home? What happens? Life takes over, right? And all this shit, all this energy, the butterflies you're feeling right now in your stomach, it all goes away. It goes away in like a day. So figure out exactly what it is in the next 5 days you want to accomplish towards getting to your part-time 7-figure business, and lean on those 5 people that you don't know yet. Build your own accountability group today. It's my challenge to you. But the big light bulb moment from that day, what happened when the light switch went on? I still remember I'm sitting on the edge of the couch. Bedros is leaning back in his chair, talking about whatever. And I thought to myself, holy shit. Holy shit. Look what this guy's been able to build out of thin air. And holy shit, the dude is just like me. He's a man that puts his pants on one leg at a time. He had very, very similar background to me, first-generation American. Holy shit. The only thing that separates him from the vast majority of the world is his attitude and his grit, his persistence, and his hard work. I have all that. I can do that. You can do that. 7-figure part-time business. This is what you're going to get when you go home and you say, oh my gosh, I just went to the most amazing seminar. This guy's name is Bedros Keuilian, and he had all these speakers. There's this one dentist, and he's working like 15 hours a week, and he made $1 million. It's crazy. And Uncle Tom, and maybe your spouse, and the lady that does your nails, and your stockbroker, and your attorney, and your doctor are all going to say, that's not possible. How is that possible? If that's possible, how come the rest of the world isn't doing that? And they're going to say, is it really responsible for you to pay $2,000 to get on a plane and sit in a room with people for 3 days and talk about your dreams? Is that really responsible when you could be putting that money aside in your 401k? Is it really practical for you to believe that this is possible? Is it really practical? Seriously, Mark. Is it practical? Is it ethical? Is it legal? It can't be legal. You know why I know it's not legal? Because that guy up on the hill that drives that really nice car, I heard he cheats on his wife. And I heard that the IRS is after him for tax evasion. And I heard, and I heard, and I heard. And it's so easy to believe, right? Because they're outperforming you. That's the scarcity mindset of people in the world. And this is what you're going to hear when you get home, when you tell people about your plans. Be very careful who you share your plans with. Be very, very careful who you share your plans with. Only people that can support you need to know about anything. And go home, smile and nod, and lock yourself in your dungeon like Rick does. And don't come out until you've taken another step closer. So what's the formula? Here's a text I got from Bedros. I had just presented 2012 at an Info Mastermind transformation contest. Incidentally, it was like one of the first times I had ever spoken in front of a group of people, and at the time it was like 12 people, and it was very difficult for me. And I happened to have won that transformation contest, so the next time, they were going to pay for my hotel room. But it was a big deal for me There's 12, 16 people in the room. I respected these people a lot. I won this contest. This was really cool. I felt validated for all the sacrifices I had made. B to me, dude, nice job today. I could see this thing exploding into a $2 to $3 million business within a couple of years. So is Bedros like, is he like the Saint twins? Can he read the future? Can he read like what's going to happen? How did he know? It's been a couple years since that, and it's happened. Me to B. You seriously think so, dude? I'm sure of it. It's formulaic. He probably doesn't remember ever sending these texts to me. You know how much that meant to me? That validation? You know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars I made because of this series of texts? Because he told me that he believed in me, that it was going to happen. It was preordained. And if nobody's told you that yet, anybody in this room? Dude, it's going to happen. I'm telling you, you can do it. 4 pillars. Now, it's no surprise that there's a lot of the speakers this weekend. Of course, Peter Osborne's a good friend of mine, but there's a couple speakers that I've never met before. And it's no surprise that we are talking about a lot of the same shit. It's not like we got together and said, okay, everybody talk about your foundational stuff and say this word and that word. I have the benefit of kind of getting a late run in the lineup, so I've listened to every single speaker leading up to mine. We're all talking about the same stuff. The reason is because if you study the most successful companies in any industry, they all do the same shit. From the 2-person information marketing millionaire until the Fortune 500 companies like McDonald's and Walt Disney, they start in the same place. They start with this foundational stuff. That's why when you hear speakers talk and you start to tune people out because you've heard it all before, that's why we all talk about this stuff, because it's so important. And the reason why the vast majority of people don't succeed in business is because they don't take time to do this foundational stuff. So if you tuned out everybody else when it came to this foundational stuff in the past 6 lectures this weekend, listen to me right now. Here are the 4 questions you must answer to be successful in business. So lock yourself in a room, take 4 sheets of paper, write who on the top of one of them, why on the top of one of them, what on the top of one of them, and how on the top of one of them, and figure it out. What's your why? What are your specific reasons for wanting a 7-figure business? Why exactly do you want it? Is it freedom? Do you want to be a different person? Do you want to do certain things? Do you want to have certain things? Materialism is okay. Materialistic stuff is okay. I'm telling you this, though. Wanting a Ferrari really, really bad is not going to get you out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning to write sales copy. It's just not. You have to have a more compelling why, or you'll never accomplish anything. Climbing the wrong ladder. I'm borrowing this from Stephen Covey, the late, great Stephen Covey. Don't climb the wrong ladder. When I was 16 years old, I found a dusty old copy of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich in my dad's study. I read that thing at 16 years old. It sent me on a path of an obsession with personal development and entrepreneurship. It shaped my entire life, reading that one book. I've probably read it 50 times since. Dog ears, underlined, highlighted, pages falling out. But what I read in that book and what I've read in tons and tons of other personal development books and business books and entrepreneurial books is you got to have your short-term goals, you got to have your long-term goals, right? At 16 years old, I didn't know any better. I was immature, inexperienced, maybe a bit naive. The only long-term goal I could think of was $1 million in the bank, $1 million in annual salary. Fast forward 25 years later, when I finally had the capacity to make some money, built up 6 practices, took me 7 years to do it, had over 50 employees. I was out of town 3 days a week. I was working 80-hour weeks. And then one day, I get a phone call from my CPA. Mark, check out your inbox. Your tax return is in there for this year. I need you to check it for accuracy before I send it off to the IRS. Sat at the edge of my bed, opened up my laptop, opened the document. For the first time in my life, I realized I made $1 million that year. Same day, same second, I realized I had never been more miserable in my entire life. Horrible, horrible time in my life. My relationship with my wife was unbelievably strained. Unbelievably strained because I was never home. My dream was always to have boys and to coach them in every sport. I was blessed with 3 beautiful boys. Didn't have any time for them. Nothing. I wasn't a very nice person at work. I wasn't a very good father. I wasn't a very good husband. I wasn't a very good son. I wasn't a very good anything except for somebody that could make $1 million a year. I climbed the wrong ladder. I had the wrong why. Perhaps the right goal, but the wrong why. This is my son Bryce's rendition of what my life looked at the time. 6 practices. Those little houses are dental practices. That's me in my black SUV driving from practice to practice. All those little stick people with the little hair, those are the girls that worked for me. I have 44 girls. On the right, those 6 non-curly haired things are the boys, as he would call them, the boys that worked for you. 50 total employees. This is how I made my first $1 million. This picture on the left is Bryce's drawing of how I made my next $1 million. That's a picture of me with my iPhone and my laptop sitting across the table from my assistant who's sitting at a laptop. First $1 million. A lot of moving parts, a lot of stress, a lot of time away from the family. Second $1 million. 1 person, laptop, there's my real assistant right there. Full-time assistant, she does everything for me. When you're hiring an assistant, everybody should go away thinking that they need to hire an assistant. If you can't afford it, hire an assistant for 2 hours a week. You'd be surprised what the right assistant can do for your business. It's unbelievable. She now works full-time for me. Very similar story. I started her at 10 hours a week at $10 an hour. Now she's close to $50,000 a year, and I just bought her a brand new Honda Pilot because she does everything that I don't know how to frickin' do, which is everything. She posts all my YouTube videos. She edits my podcasts. She proofreads my copy. I mean, she is like Wonder Woman. And don't think that you're going to go out and find somebody like her automatically. You might have to piece a few VAs together or whatever. But the point is, determine what it is that you can't do. Determine what your weaknesses are. And find somebody that can overcome those weaknesses. Now I get to coach. This is my why, guys. My kids know me. That's my parents' house. Best deal of the century, $1. Those are my parents. That's my why. What's your what? Do you have a crystal clear vision of what your business looks like when it's all done? Do you have that? This goes on that single piece of blank paper that says what at the top of it. Exactly what does it look like? Exactly. How much income is it going to bring you and how much time? How many employees is it going to take to run this thing? Products and services, what are you going to offer? What's your time commitment? What's your exit strategy? Don't forget about the foundational stuff. We've heard a lot about this, so I'll buzz through it. But mission. Your mission statement is your purpose and primary objective for your business. The vision is where you want the business to be in a certain period of time. 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. What do you want to be known for in that amount of time? What exactly do you want your business to look like in that amount of time? Your core values. Again, we've heard all this stuff this weekend. Really important stuff. The values that define and guide the formation of culture, brand, and business strategies of your business. Core values are so important. You have to have certain non-negotiables in your life. I didn't have any non-negotiables when I was led astray into thinking that the $1 million trophy was the only thing that I wanted. I didn't consider my non-negotiables. Now, it's not negotiable. I spend time with my family every night. That's not negotiable. If I need more time to work on my information business, it happens in my time. And that means sacrificing sleep, not sacrificing time with my family, not cutting into the non-negotiables. What are your non-negotiables? That's where the core values come in. Benchmarks, processes and systems, organizational chart, and operations manual. If you want all this stuff in a one-stop shop, get the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. That is a must-read. I have some other resources I'm going to share with you guys. But if nothing else, no other business book, that's number one on my list, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. I'll have a slide for that in 1 second. He'll teach you how to put all this stuff together. Who's your who? You guys know how I feel about mentors. Accountability partners. I'm challenging you to find 5. Group and individual coaching. If you have the opportunity to join anything within this organization, at whatever level you can do it financially without killing yourself, I recommend that you do it. $2.5 million later, I would not have had any of that experience or knowledge or cash if I didn't make that choice 2.5 years ago. Strategic alliances, joint venture partners, mastermind groups. The year that I made my first $1 million in information marketing, brace yourself, I spent $90,000 on coaching. $90,000. Would you spend $90,000 to make $1 million? I spent $90,000. I spent $18,000 to have lunch with somebody. I flew to Baltimore. We sat down from 11 to 2. He bought me lunch at a deli. It was a veggie sandwich and a pickle wedge. And then I got back on the plane and I flew home, and it was worth it. It was worth it. A couple strategies that coach gave me made me probably about $50,000. But do you have the balls to do that? And I'm not saying blindly just sign up for any old thing. But man, listen to what the people are saying on stage. We're not making this shit up. Seriously, 2.5 years ago, me and Mikey Perella were starting out. And between the two of us, last year we made $7 million. Granted, $6 million of it was from him. But this shit is real. What's your how? Once you've clearly identified your why, what, and who, how you're going to get your desired results is just a matter of taking massive action, tracking what works, and repeating the process over and over and over again. So this slide isn't as fancy as Dr. Peter's slide. I'm going to get his people to start working on my slide presentations. But this is it. This is it in a nutshell, everything I've talked about. First, what's your why? What's your compelling why? What's your real reason? What really motivates you? What would get you out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning to write copy? What exactly is that business going to look like? Who is going to help you get there? How are you going to do it? All that shit is readily available. The first 3 steps are the hard part. The how is the easy if you surround yourself with the right people. Massive action. Testing and tracking. Make any necessary adjustments. Start the cycle all over again. We talk about GSD. I got a band on right here that says G the right SD. That's a slight tweak to Bedros' mantra, get shit done, because I believe that busyness can definitely be a form of laziness. Do you guys agree with that? I did that for years and years and years. I didn't want to take the time to figure out the processes because I had to use my brain to do that, right? That took maybe, 16, 18 hours to put the processes together. I didn't want to do that. That's the hard stuff. That 16, 18 hours, that's a bitch. But you look back and you've worked your ass off for 3 years because you didn't take the time to do the foundational shit, right? Get the right stuff done. Here's a trick that I learned from one of my mentors many years ago. I've had a lot. None as good as the guy that hosts this event. Time journal. So he tells me, my ex-coach, he tells me, get some paper or a journal or a spiral notebook, whatever. Write down what you do for 3 business days, from the second that you wake up until the moment you go to sleep, what you do for every chunk of time. Write it down, the amount of time that you did it. Simple exercise. Then he came back and visited with me again. Gave me 2 highlighters, one yellow, one blue. Yellow highlighter, anything that you can delegate out and outsource for less than $100, highlight in yellow. Everything else, highlight in blue. 75% of the shit I was doing on a daily basis was yellow. He said, delegate all that shit out. And the stuff that's in blue, expand the time that you're working on the high-value activities. Genius. Work only on high-value activities. You might have a lower threshold. Maybe it's $20 an hour right now. That's cool. For people like Bedros, it's like $1,500 an hour, and he doesn't do it. But you'll get there. Perform an 80-20 analysis. I'm sure most of you here, this is one of my resources, I'm sure most of you here have read the 4-Hour Work Week. Tim Ferriss is a genius about this 80-20 analysis stuff. Determining what 20% of your activities are responsible for bringing in 80% of the revenue. Delegate or outsource all the other activities. For B, it's 95-5, same story. What's your 5%? What's your 95%? Be brutal about delegating out the 95%. Don't screw around with it. Get yourself an Ashley, like my Ashley, or a Frankie. Whatever you pay them will come back to you tenfold. Start them off 5 hours a week. My top 6 must-reads. The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. Call these my sexy 6. If you guys listen to any podcast, Michael O'Neill calls his 6 books his sexy 6. This is my sexy 6. Delivering Happiness. This is actually a gift from Bedros. He gave me that. I didn't know about Zappos or about the company culture stuff. He gave me this book as a gift. One of my sexy 6 now. The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. Anybody know about Gary V? Of course. Everything you need to know about social media is in this book. I need to read this book again. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, another gift from Bedros to me. I'm telling you guys, read this shit or get it on audio. I recommend audible.com. Read this stuff or get it on Audible. Listen to it over and over and over again. You'll start thinking like they do. You'll start talking like we all do. It makes a huge difference. Cut out all the other noise. Podcasts are pretty cool. Like you can run, you could do whatever you want, do the dishes, whatever, and listen to a really fabulous podcast. Fill your mind with positive stuff. Entrepreneur on Fire is a great one. The Solopreneur with Michael O'Neill is a good one. Both those guys, friends of mine. Half hour, 45 minutes of really, really good, free, totally free content, earbuds in, and you're getting something. You can do that in your car. Audiobooks are huge. I could not even imagine sitting down to watch TV for an hour unless it was a football game. It could never happen now. Now that I've seen the light and I can see what you can do in 3 hours. How much 3 hours can change everything. So my charity, I don't know if you guys know this because not a lot of the other speakers have talked about this, but you guys are going to vote on your favorite speaker. And I'm a pretty moral guy, but I got some shit to give away. Because I'm not above trying to buy votes. I got these bracelets right here made for everybody here. I don't know if I have enough of them. I have a few hundred of them that say, "Get the right shit done." I want all of you guys to have these. So find me at the break and I'll give you one. This is my charity. If you guys vote for me as the top speaker, even if you didn't think I was, it's going to go to a really good cause. Big brother. Big brothers and big sisters, they just inducted me as one of their most recent board of director members. I'm humbled by that. Unbelievable charity. We've heard stories all weekend about people that didn't have that strong figure in their lives, that mentor in their lives. And it's no mistake that I kind of was gravitated towards this charity. My wife actually brought me into it because I'm so big about the power of mentors. And it's all about these lost kids that don't have anything. They don't have anybody looking out for them. They don't have anybody guiding them. And studies have shown that agencies, this particular agency in general, specifically, not in general, keeps kids off the street. And they've done long-term studies, and these kids, because they have these mentors, actually make things of themselves. It lowers the amount of kids that end up on drugs, teen pregnancy, and on the streets. So just for the sake of my charity, and it's such a great charity, if you vote for me and I win, I get to give them $2,000 when I go back home from Bedros. So I'd appreciate your vote. So I have a gift for the big man here. If you would come up, B. When I made the first $88,000, I gave him a really, really expensive bottle of tequila. And for the $2.5 million that you've made me, I got you this lousy t-shirt. Appreciate it.
So proud of you, man.
So proud.
I've got about 20 of these at home. The first 20 people to email me at markg.therightsd.com. I just got that last night. Well, my assistant got that last night. mark@therightsd.com. It's like GSD with the right in the middle of it. therightsd.com. First 20 people to email me, get a t-shirt at my expense, sent to you. Anybody else that wants to keep in touch with me, or if you want me to be your accountability partner, I will do that. Okay? Thank you guys so much. It's been a pleasure.